Closing all schools today across Fife was probably one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make in this role. But it was important for us to make the right decision to make sure that all of our children, young people and their families were safe. There are a large number of people across Fife over the last few days that have tried really hard to make sure that we could have the conditions that were correct to allow our children and young people to get back to their learning. It's really important for us to have our children learning and to allow our parents to get back to work. We know that we've been prioritising the main routes and that the main routes are really clear now, but the difficulty was that we didn't have enough capacity to be concentrating on the pavements and making sure that all of the accessible routes were available to our children and young people to walk safely to school. The roads teams have been amazing, as well as the people in the local communities who came out to help. Our roads teams have been working overnight. They allowed our residential groups to get back in when we had snowdrifts that they were battling with. So we've been working together as one Fife Council to try to make sure that we could do everything we possibly could, but it just wasn't possible for today. We looked at the possibilities of parents and children being able to walk to school and to look at the bus routes, but we felt that for parents to be taking their children where they couldn't stay on the pavement, where they may have buggies and they'd be walking on the roads, that might actually cause a hazard at the rush time today when people were all trying to make their way to wherever they could at that point. We looked long and hard at whether or not we could open the secondary schools. I'm very conscious that we wanted to get them back to learning with a lot of exams coming up. Unfortunately, the bus routes and the bus stops were inaccessible in some parts of Fife. It meant that we couldn't guarantee that any bus would actually go to the normal bus stops, and therefore we took the decision, rather than having children cold and standing at a bus stop where a bus didn't arrive, that we couldn't actually make that possible. The effort that we've seen from the communities were amazing. I myself was in 3 schools yesterday where the community spirit was very high. People worked extremely hard to try to make sure that we could get children back to school today. Unfortunately, that just wasn't possible, but it does not mean that that work was in vain. Far on the contrary of that. It was very much the case that now we're able to concentrate our energies on getting the paths around the schools safe for children to be able to come back as soon as possible. I understand that people are disappointed today, as I'm personally disappointed with the difficult decision that we had to take, but we feel that it was the right decision with all of the information that we had at that point in time to make that decision, to make sure that our children, young people and families were kept safe.